Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Friendly Wager. This is the place where betting leads to bonding. I'm your host, Gator, joined today by the one and only KOB, Keat on the beat. And you'll notice we're just a twosome today. The total package is out in Alabama in a little golf tournament today. KOB, what an epic weekend for the pod. Tell me how you did. How was your weekend? And don't brag too much today.
Oh, Gator. Yeah. Friendly Wager. Hello. Sorry, just counting all my winning tickets from this past weekend. Wow. What a weekend that was. 28-4 for me solo, 6-0 posted for all the viewers and supporters. If you didn't hop on this week, my goodness, did you miss out? But hey, we're ready to rock. Get some more winners going today.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. This was one of those weekends you only you dream of or you talk about that you hope would happen as a group, right? We had 16-2 on our posted plays that we post on Instagram and X for everybody to follow. I personally went 5-2 in college football. Had a huge NFL Sunday, went 11-0. And if we go all the way back to Thursday night, I went 17-3. Absolute huge weekend for the boys. I know we're not buying or selling now, but if you're not buying the Friendly Wager in our picks, something's wrong with you, right?
I totally agrry.
Yeah. Just one of those weekends you dream of, and I mean, I'm not dumb. We're gonna lose a few weeks here and there. It's what Vegas does, but man, what a fun week, and not to mention perfect segue into our next topic here that we're gonna start the pod off with. The Ryder Cup, we called that on last pod too. Team Europe wins 16.5 to 11.5 over Team USA. I don't know what you ended up putting that bet in, but I did put one in right after the pod at plus 100, which was nice. Little extra cash coming into the weekend. I know you said you forgot about that when that came in on your book on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, that was fun to look at. I went to look at all my winners, and then an extra unit popped in there, and I was like, oh, what else did I hit? And sure enough, Europe plus 100 for me. That was definitely the smart wager, the financially right decision winner right there. But when you look back as an American and rooting for USA always, I just have one question to ask. Where were the captains, where the assistant captains, just arguing on Ricky's defense? Fleetwood had a 3-foot putt that Ricky didn't make him putt. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, make him putt it. This is going to be a sweat coming down, although financially I'm rooting for Europe. But emotionally, I'm rooting for the USA. Let's just see that history be broken. 30 years, let's just see it be done. There's a sweat coming down the last 4 matches. It was fun to watch, and we weren't out of it quite yet. But he gives the putt to Tommy Fleetwood. It's about a 3-footer, and there it is. There's a half point. They clinched it, and it was kind of like a very undramatic finish to the Ryder Cup. But we cashed a ticket, go Europe plus 100, and we look forward to 2 years from now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It was a weird spot to be in, because I'll be honest, this is the first year I've ever bet on Team Europe. And again, it was just purely from a financial standpoint. It was a smart play, just based off histories and trends and odds, right? And it was a weird spot trying to root for USA, but also not really upset either at the same time for the pocketbook. But yeah, I totally get it with Ricky. You know, I mean, Fleetwood was going to make that putt. Let's just call it what it is, 99% of the time.
Robert McIntyre missed a 2'9" putt about 3 holes before that.
That's Robert McIntyre.
The more,
Fleetwood.
Yeah. Well, the more you give putts to them, the beginning of the round, the more jittery they get towards the end. And I mean, it wasn't no question. Was he going to make it? Probably. But let's watch it. Let's see it. Let's have a golf ball go in the cup to clinch the Ryder Cup. Let's just see it.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I totally agree with that. And it's, where were the captains? You would have to think Ricky kind of knew where they were at, but at the same time, who knows?
Yeah.
But I mean, just going back, if we go back to the first 2 days, right? I mean, to me, it just you could see it. The United States was just outmatched in the foursome of four ball matches. But like you said, we did make it interesting in singles play there for a little bit at least. There was a while where you said, could these guys pull it out? But just kind of going into some player highlights. I mean, first and foremost, John Rahm had an absolute phenomenal week. Goes 2-0-2 with the absolute, to me, was a huge have in singles coming out in that first match against Scotty Scheffler. And he had to do it by winning hole 18. To me, which kind of set that trend. If Scotty wins that match and they get that point early, who knows what the trend could have happened. But that was there, and I know I think it was day 2, he had two or three chip ins, an eagle on one of the holes, just an absolute tear that Rahm went on. What did you think about John Rahm's play, and how big do you think that singles match coming out early, getting that half was?
Yeah, I mean, John Rahm, if you just look at any of the highlights, which could have filled the TV for probably 30 minutes, chip in after putt, it was just incredible. He lived up to his name, which is obviously impressive, and that's what you expect out of a stud of the team. The guy that I want to talk about a little bit, what you just described, was Scotty Scheffler.
No,
Where were you? How'd you? He got 1 point, maybe half
no.
point. Um,
Yeah, he was
it was
0-2-2.
0-2-2,
Yeah,
0 points, and you're the number one golfer in the world,
yeah,
and you're the veteran in the USA team room, and they're relying on you, and he just came out, didn't perform. But then again, you look at the last 3 holes, 16, 17, 18. Europe and Luke Donald did a fantastic job setting that golf course up to
yeah.
their benefit. If you look at all the matches and the swings that took place on those last 3 holes, it was incredible. Did they fine tune that? I think they did that on purpose. There was a ton of matches USA was up, and then those last 3 just took a flip like that. I don't think we won 18, but one time. And
Yeah,
so, um, congrats to Europe. Scotty Scheffler did not play his best. There's a little rumor that there's a little illness in the
all
USA
right.
team room. Sure, whatever. But I mean, you can't hide the fact that Victor Hovland and Rory McIlroy just dominating too.
Yeah, no, for sure. I completely agree there. And Victor Hovland kind of continued his hot streak. He went 3-1-1. Rory definitely stepped up to the plate as being a veteran leader for the team. He goes 4-1. Phenomenal weekend. And then you got Tyrrell Hatton goes 3-0-1 for Team Europe. I mean, they have guys there that just kind of came out and got the points for the team, and they were there. We move over to Team USA, right? Other than Max Homa, who went 3-1-1, there really wasn't another bright spot for Team USA and what they had. We spoke on Scheffler and Spieth going 0-2-2, right? They pull out two halves, and then Ricky goes 0-2-0. A little shock there, I think, especially with Scheffler and Spieth. JT played better than I thought he was going to. I mean, he played one arm behind his back with Spieth as his
Yeah,
partner in the four ball, right? And I mean, he did what
and
he could. Yeah, he did what
won
he
his
could.
singles match.
Yeah,
Yeah,
won a singles match, which we kind of knew would happen. He's a gamer like that. But I mean, all in all, I think you hit the nail on the head. Europeans set that golf course up for their team, which is driving accuracy, and they took the wedges out of Team USA's hand, which is kind of the advantage they had coming into the week. Was they might not hit many fairways, but they get wedges in their hand. They're pretty dangerous. So overall, it was a great Ryder Cup. It was fun to watch. It was a great Sunday, getting in some singles matches, a little early football action, and continuing all the way into the day, just raking in the cash. It was definitely fun. Um, Moving into a little bit of baseball. We've had Ryder Cup. We've talked a lot about uh, football season's kicked off, and I'm not going to lie, MLB kind of been on the back burner for me, and it's just kind of going through. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about our hometown boys, the Houston Astros, coming in and winning the AL West, and making another big run here at the World Series. They came in on September 27th. The Astros only had a 5.8% chance to win the division, and they got it done. What do you think about that, Keith? I know we didn't watch much of it, but just talk a little bit about the Houston Astros and what are you expecting out of the playoffs here?
Yeah, first off, I want to say thank you to the Texas Rangers for giving us a chance to win that division. Um, Without their decline, we wouldn't have had a chance to win the division. I know we're in the race for that wild card spot. Uh, I liked the Houston Astros in the postseason. Now, I absolutely love them after winning their division. Getting that first round bye, I thought was huge for the Houston Astros to regain themselves, look in the mirror and be like, we are October. That team plays their best in October. And so now, just watch the game earlier before recording this. They get to play the Twins.
Yeah.
Twins, swept the Blue Jays past 2 nights, little matchup against Carlos Correa, a little hometown favorite, shortstop. Um, I just think we got to keep our bullpen healthy. And I think the key is Justin Verlander. If he can pitch like the Justin Verlander can pitch, I like our chances. I think it's going to be Astros Orioles in the ALCS. That's going to be a very tough matchup. The Orioles look very stellar. Do they have that roster that I think can contend for the World Series? I don't think so. I don't think they have enough experience. You have to look at our history. This is normal for the Houston Astros. They're used to this, and this is what they play 162 games for, is for the postseason. And so I like our chances with that bye. I like us getting to the World Series. I think it'll be tough because I think it's going to be the Astros Braves, Astros Dodgers, two really stellar clubhouses. And so it'll be fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think being able to win, the AL West was absolutely huge for the Astros, and the most of it was kind of this last little stretch. The bullpen was absolutely just washed out, right? I mean, they threw a lot of innings, a lot of pitches, and that extra rest is going to go a long way. Give Justin Verlander a little bit of time to kind of get his legs back underneath them and continue, hopefully, a big push here into the postseason. I haven't really seen the odds on the new odds on Astros' chances of winning the World Series. I think last I saw was plus 850, but I'm pretty sure that's probably changed a little bit here. But whatever it is, I'm gonna put a little money on it just to have rooting interest, in our hometown boys. Have you seen anything, updated lines or anything?
The only thing I saw that was updated was I think the Astros are plus 500 to win the AL pennant.
Okay.
Um, I probably will sprinkle a little bit on that because I do think the Houston Astros are the best team on the AL side. The World Series, I'll have to look at and gather a little bit more information. But yes, I will sprinkle a little bit because of hometown interest, and it's about the only professional team that we have that's worthwhile. And
Yeah,
so
especially recently.
when it comes down towards the back end of the stretch, they're just emotionally fun games to watch as a Houston Astros fan.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It'll be fun to watch, and hopefully we can pull through, and we'll try to sprinkle in a little bit more baseball talk as we go through, and especially once Package joins us again. He's kind of the baseball guy for us, so it'll be definitely fun to talk about a little bit. But let's go ahead and move into a little Week 5 college football recap. And I'm just going to start off with number one ranked Georgia squeaking by Auburn 27-20. Georgia moved the ball with 313 yards passing and 107 yards rushing. But I think the big thing here was the Auburn rushing game. Auburn only had 88 yards passing that entire game, but they had 219 yards on the ground. And that's, to me, was what kept this game close for Auburn, that they actually had a chance to win this game. Just eating up the clock and keeping Georgia's offense completely off the field. And I don't know if you watch much of that game, but to me, the big thing is Georgia has been known for having this stellar defense over the last 2, 3, 4 years, and to get 219 yards rushed on you, I don't know if this is the Georgia team we're used to seeing. And last week I talked a little bit uh, about thinking they had a chance to make the playoffs, but after last week, there's definitely some flags raised, and we'll see how they can bounce back this week. But what'd you take on Georgia just squeaking by Auburn there, KOB?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, 200 yards of rushing offense against them. That's not the typical Georgia Bulldog defense we have seen in the past. And so, does that raise some flags for me? Yes, it does. Now, fortunately for them, looking through their schedule, they don't play any scary, intimidating, big named like schools for the rest of their season. I mean, you could say Kentucky, Missouri, Ole Miss,
Yeah.
Tennessee, right? They're all ranked, but are they like, oh, Tennessee's on our schedule?
Right.
Look out! Like, there's none. And so, do I think Georgia will make the playoffs? Yes, just because their schedule. Do I think they're a team that will get beat in the playoffs? Yes. And so, just like you talked on them last week, you don't think they're as good as they once were.
Yeah.
And I think your point's being proven to win by 7 against Auburn and give up 200 yards. Now, that might be the key to beating Georgia for the following teams. Hey, let's watch some tape. We need to get the ground game going, waste some clock. Let's keep this game tight and see what happens. And so, and they only scored 27 against Auburn. Like,
Yeah.
that's not very impressive. And so, I think they still deserve the number one spot, being 5-0. But we'll see coming down the stretch here for college football playoffs.
Yeah, no, definitely, and we'll get into that top five ranking here too. See if we agree or disagree a little bit on some things. But let's go into the Texas Longhorns beating up on Kansas 40-14. This was a game I was a little worried about. You know, I wasn't completely sold last week with the Texas on Baylor, but they came out again and beat a team that they needed to beat handedly, and starting to make me become even a more believer than what I already was in the Texas Longhorns. Quinn Ewers has another strong outing, goes 25 of 35, 325 yards and a touchdown, and this was what's just amazing. I don't know where Texas has found these running backs over the years, but it's another dominant rushing attack with 336 yards rushing on the ground, led by Jonathan Brooks again, leading the way here with 218 yards and 2 touchdowns with a 10.5 yard average per touch. Um, it just goes to say, we say it every week, Texas defense and offense front line continues to be dominant. And as long as the offense and defensive front continue dominant, I think that's going to help Texas in the long run on these games where they just don't show up. As long as they're dominant there, I think they have a chance to kind of win out even on the games they're lacking a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. What was your big takeaways, KOB, here from this game? And are you thinking Texas is the real deal? And we'll talk more about OU later, but we'll see if they can get through.
Wow, wow, wow. Hook 'em horns, baby. I think I'm a believer now for sure. Alabama, we all question, was that a fluke? Was it? I don't think so. They've been so consistent on offense that it's hard to say this team isn't a top 4 team in the country. There might be an argument that they might be number 1. And
Yeah.
I thought Kansas was going to be a good test. And you sit back and listen, say Kansas being a good test. Well, Kansas have kind of proven themselves this year,
Yeah.
and so that was a good test. To smoke a 40-14, a huge buy on the Texas Longhorns. Now, I think the biggest test of their schedule is obviously this upcoming week, which we'll talk about a little bit. Oklahoma Sooners, which is always a great game for those two. And so, if they beat Oklahoma, look out. I think they have an easy path
Yeah.
to the college football national championship.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just to add on there, it's the OU game is going to be the deciding factor, and I think it's the deciding factor for both teams. I
Yeah.
think the winner of this game definitely has an easy route into the playoffs for sure. Let's move into the USC Colorado game. Is 48-41. USC kind of sneaks away with the win here at the end. It was never really close until 7 minutes left in the third quarter, right? It was uh, early on, it was a blowout by USC, leading 41-14. Few minutes left in the third quarter, Colorado battles back and actually makes this a game to kind of worry about on USC there. Caleb Williams did what we knew he was going to do. He threw for over 400 yards, 6 touchdowns, proven to be a true Heisman candidate and showing you why he's going to be the number 1 pick next year in the NFL draft. But the biggest thing I took away from this has nothing to do with Colorado, has everything to do with USC's defense. This is by far a weak link for them. And the question comes up is, if you just look at the history of Lincoln Riley and his high tempo offense and just getting and going, could it be the offensive philosophy of the reason why his defenses always seem to struggle? Just getting on the field and whether they score quick or they're 3 and out and they're right back on the field. There's got to be some type of consistency here where Lincoln Riley team's defense seemed to always struggle. What was your takeaway, KOB, of the USC Colorado game? And I know you were thrilled to see Colorado lose again, but what was your big takeaway from that game?
Yeah. So,
Oh, you're
so
good.
48-41. And you set the table, right? 41-14. Let me give you a golf analogy, Gator, because I don't think Colorado's worth a shit. And it's like shooting 15 over on the front nine, and you make the turn. And you're like, well, I can either shoot 30, or I can try and shoot 6 under on the back nine and make it not look as
Yeah.
bad. That's exactly what Colorado did. I mean, they didn't stand a chance. They really didn't. And then they come back and make it a 7-point game. It was cool to watch. But Colorado, they just couldn't hang with USC. And you talked about their defense. That is a scary part for USC. But if you score as easy as the Trojans do with Caleb Williams, do you really need a defense? And so I think USC could be a top 5 school, top 5 ranking college football team, but their defense just needs to step up just a little bit more.
Yeah.
You just can't have all these high scoring games and anybody can score on you. And so I look forward to seeing the rest of their season. Caleb Williams looks like an absolutely stud. But USC is solid, and they proved it. It wasn't a close game like the scoreboard says. So I don't know. USC Trojans might be top 5 school for sure come the end of the season.
All right. Well, hold on one second, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. We are joined. Oh, we got the echo. Here we go. We're joined by the one and only Total Package. Package, what's going on?
Or
We can
echo.
hear you.
Oh my goodness, out here in Floribama, I don't know if I'm in Florida or Alabama right now, but one of the two, I guarantee you that. I don't know where we're at in the podcast, but how is Justin Fields getting 5.5 points on Thursday night? I don't know.
Oh, we're almost there. We're actually talking about USC Colorado.
Well, it's another easy cover for the Buffaloes, KOB. Sorry, that was just kind of a sweet 1 week you had against Oregon. But old Coach Prime came back, and they got a new weapon outside. Travis Hunter coming back. The Buffs are going to win 6 or 7 games. Easy winner for old guys. The Total Package on Saturday.
Yep. Hey, you're going to go down on the Coach Prime train for sure.
KOB wasn't very happy about that.
I didn't play the spread. I just went 28-4 this weekend.
Oh, no, I'm not talking trash. What a great week for the squad. We posted on social. Anybody that follows us had a huge week financially and can definitely take the girlfriend out for a nice steak dinner. There ain't no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Well, where are you joining us from today?
Do what?
Where are you joining us from? Where are you at?
Well, I don't know if I'm in Florida or Alabama. It's one of the two. We're right on the line here, playing at a Pro-Am, and we're at dinner. I just got a couple minutes, but had to pop into the Friendly Wager and say hi to you two guys and check in on you. But, yeah, we've got one more day of the Pro-Am, then we're back home for a big weekend, huge weekend of football gambling.
All right. Well, we look forward to it. Before you take off, elaborate on us on the Texas OU game.
I don't know how you don't just ride Texas. We just have, I always say this every week, Texas has a better roster than anybody else in the Big 12 this year. They just do. Moving to the SEC, we got questions. But this year, I think this is going to be a complete throttle job. What's the line at currently today?
I'm going to look it up right now. 6.5. Texas laying 6.5.
6.5. The only thing that scares me is it looks too easy. I think Texas wins this game by 17-24. Quinn Ewers doesn't throw any picks. This is going to be the easiest wager you can make all weekend.
All right. We all heard it here first from the Total Package. Bet everything on Texas.
What was the score last year? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
It was 50-something to nothing, I think. But it was just a complete roll job. Expect part 2 coming Saturday morning, 11 o'clock.
Oh, you heard it. All right, Package. We'll get back to the boys. and we will get your picks for this week.
Absolutely. And hey, they're really giving AR5, formerly AR15. He's a home dog too. Oh my gosh, we're gonna make so much money this weekend. Tune into our picks. Love you guys. We'll be back in Texas. Back on the ranch tomorrow.
All right, Package, you have a good one.
Hey, Package.
So
All right, Keith. Well, there's Package. Looks like he was on a flip phone, but
Yeah,
either way,
always
he
good to
came
hear
in.
from Package.
Absolutely. Well, let's get back to where we were. I think we covered the USC game, and just want to gloss over some of the other big games that happened last week in college football. Is Notre Dame versus Duke. Notre Dame comes out ahead 21-14 in a close game. I believe we all knew that was going to be a hard-fought battle there. Ole Miss knocks out LSU 55-49. Another one that was one of my plays, actually, was the Ole Miss to actually beat LSU there. And then probably my favorite play, and I know you were on the same train with me, was Kentucky beating Florida outright 33-14. They just looked better. I don't think Florida is what we thought they could be. And I'll elaborate a little bit here, too. I think look out Georgia. I think Kentucky could give them a little run for their money for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky looks solid. I played them on 2 accounts.
Yeah.
Came out big for me, and yeah, we didn't think Florida was worth anything for us. But interesting coming up, Kentucky versus Georgia will be a good matchup because Kentucky is a decent team, and to finally have a good squad face the Georgia Bulldogs, it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, no, for sure. Before we get into week 6 and kind of dive into a couple of these games we're looking forward to, just want to go over the AP top 5 here, which was Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Ohio State, and Florida State. What do you think about that ranking, KOB? Or do you think some teams should be moved around, or is there someone outside the top 5 that should be in the top 5?
You know, I think they have it on the money. We're through week 5. It's hard to say. Georgia started week 1, still are. They haven't lost, right? That's going to be a hard one to transition until they lose, in my opinion. I think Texas is worthy of being maybe number 1 from what they've done. But for right now, through 5 weeks, I mean, I think it's a solid ranking. Maybe you can argue Washington possibly being up there, but like we discussed last week, their schedules are so head to head to head. They all play
they
each
have
other.
their chance. Yeah.
Like it's going to be hard to. But just looking at teams, I mean, yeah. Right now, I might have moved up USC a couple of spots. I mean, they're not even top 5.
Yeah.
But for right now, yeah, I mean, it's hard to put together a solid top 5 without really any teams playing strong competition quite yet.
Yeah, no, I agreed. I would say just a couple things here. I think the first thing, I think the top 5 is correct. I think the order I could definitely argue against a little bit. I would probably, if this was me in my top 5, I'd probably go Michigan, Texas, 1 and 2, and then we can have a discussion on Georgia, Ohio State. Ohio State has a win over Notre Dame, and then I think Florida State's definitely in that 5th spot. Could you bring up the Pac-12 team? We talked last week, and I'm a believer that's the toughest conference in football right now. Yes, you can, but time will tell. They're all going to play each other, and a 1-loss Pac-12 champion will be in the playoffs.
Yes, I agree.
The worst thing that can happen is they beat up on each other, and you have a 2-loss champion. But one of those teams will definitely work their way into the playoffs for sure. But that's the only thing I would change. Other than that, I think the top 5 is correct. I would just bump Michigan, Texas up, and then slide Georgia in probably that number 3 spot.
Yeah.
Moving forward, but we'll kind of keep an eye on it and see what happens, and it'll all shake out here as we go. Moving into week 6 matchups, we talked about a little bit there with Package, Texas, OU, Texas laying 6.5. What are kind of your thoughts on this game? What are your feelings? And we don't have to necessarily say what you're going to play yet. We can kind of let things play out. But where's your head at right now?
You know, this is always a good game. Red River rivalry is what they call it. Without looking, I already want to play the over. I mean, this game always has points galore. Don't know what the over even is. Haven't dived into that quite yet. But I think this is a solid chance for Quinn Ewers and the Texas Longhorns to make an actual statement. They have, but this is their chance and probably their only chance. Yeah, they can blow out Lone Star College by 50 points. That doesn't mean much. Beating Oklahoma 5-0 Sooners by a large margin at home. Well, actually, they're playing in Dallas, Texas, aren't they? The Cotton Bowl Stadium.
Yeah, Cotton Bowl.
Technically, they are the home team, but in the Cotton Bowl, they put the pedal to the metal against Oklahoma. They will get a lot of respect, and so I look forward to them doing that. 6.5. I kind of want to play Texas first half, but like Package says, that looks a little goofy. Is Oklahoma the real deal? It'll just be a fun game to watch, and I think it'll be points galore.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those games that we talked about earlier this week. Is sitting there and saying this is a game, take the over, and just kind of hope Texas wins. Just to enjoy the actual game and not ride and die on every single play that Texas has. I think 6.5 is a great line for this game. Would it shock me if this comes down to a field goal or touchdown? No. Would it shock me if Texas comes out and wins by 30? No, it would not. I think this is more or less a game where we're going to find out who OU is. Are they a legit contender, or are they just like a middle of the pack team that is 1 or 2 years away from being an elite team again? But it'll be a good test for Texas. And again, like we said earlier, I think the winner of this game has a pretty easy ride into the college football playoffs, because the rest of the season should be pretty easy to get through unscathed the rest of the way through. Next game I want to talk about is one that you wanted to bring up a little bit, which is the Texas A&M Fighting Aggies here playing Bama this week. A&M is catching 2 points, which to me is a goofy line. Talk to us a little bit about this game.
Texas A&M Giga Aggies should not have any chance to beat this Alabama Crimson Tide team. But we have discussed prior weeks that we don't think this Alabama team is the normal Alabama team we always see. And so for A&M, yeah, their starting quarterback just got injured 2 games ago. Fine. We thought he was the end-all be-all for the Aggies. Well, Max Johnson, who has taken his spot, has filled that role in pretty fantastically. You say they beat Auburn 27-10, who almost beat Georgia this past week. Then they beat Arkansas. Arkansas is not very good, which is fine. So this will be a great matchup, I think, for Max Johnson, just for himself, to make some national news for him and maybe his future. Now, Jalen Milroe has to come out, but that line's a little goofy for me. Against Alabama, I don't think this should even be close, which makes me want to play A&M. So look out for an upset here, and Alabama gets 2 losses on the season.
Yeah, it's one of those goofy lines, right, that jump out at you, and you got to think everybody on the Joe Pub side's loading up on Alabama, which makes you want to take the other side of it. Well, depending on what those computer models say Saturday morning will dictate what we do here or there, but it's probably a game I'll stay away from. It's one of those ones you play A&M at +2 and they get blown out and you feel like such an idiot. But yeah. A&M does tend to play Bama pretty strong over the past few years. So definitely be something to look at. And that was a good pickup by you catching that line and it pointing out how weird it does look on paper for sure. Doesn't make sense. And we'll see where that line does go. Yeah, for sure. Jumping into another game is another SEC battle. Here's LSU playing Missouri. And the main reason why I picked this game to talk about a little bit, LSU's 3-2, and they're laying 5.5 against Missouri, who's 5-0. And I mean, has Missouri played anybody? Not really. You can talk a little bit about Kansas State, but they're 5-0. LSU, I'm not a big believer in. Lost to Ole Miss, lost to Florida State, coming off a loss. Kind of see what team we're getting there. But this is a game where I wouldn't be shocked if Missouri keeps this close and could potentially even outright win against LSU.
Yeah, these are kind of no-name teams for me looking towards the end of the year. Missouri, if they win, I don't think they'll get past Kentucky. South
Yeah.
Carolina, maybe, but they're going to lose to Georgia, Tennessee, maybe
Yeah.
Florida. Like Missouri's an school. This week will be a fighting chance for them. They, 5-0 for Missouri, very impressive, right? But I don't, just no interest for me as far as playing anything on this game. But I'll definitely tune in and watch this.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's just one to keep an eye on. And that line, opened up at LSU laying 8, and it's worked its way down to 5.5. So they're wanting you to play LSU. So we'll kind of see what happens there, getting closer to Saturday, for sure. The next game we talked a little bit about it earlier. We don't have to cover it too much. Is just Kentucky playing Georgia, and the main thing is Georgia's laying 14.5 points here against Kentucky. Uh, let's see how Georgia rebounds off of a tough game, on the road last week, and see if Kentucky can keep the ball rolling after a dominant win against Florida.
Yeah, I'm a decent fan of Devin Leary, the Kentucky's quarterback. So based off Georgia's defense through the season, it's his time to shine. He has
Yeah.
a fantastic chance to put Kentucky Wildcats on the radar. Do I think they upset them? No, but I think he'll keep it a close game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game to watch. And if Kentucky gets blown out, I would be shocked. I think it's going to be a hard fought game all the way through. 14.5 points is a lot to me in this
That's a
game,
lot.
but we'll see how it goes, and it's something to keep an eye out on for sure. And the last game I wanted to kind of cover was Notre Dame playing Louisville here, and it's not necessarily about this game per se. It's more or less about the stretch of football that Notre Dame's going through. Um, this is their third week in a row to play a top 25 ranked team. And knowing that they're playing Louisville, who is ranked 25 this week, now they got to go on the road next week to play USC. And Louisville being ranked 25, they're a good team. I just hope this isn't a trap game for Notre Dame looking ahead to USC. I think Notre Dame's a real deal. I think they're a great team. And I just hope they didn't get trapped by Louisville, who's a sneaky good team looking ahead already to USC.
Yeah, I mean, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish need to be in that team room all week long and stay focused. I mean, you can see their defense is spectacular. They have a defense to win the national championship, but this stretch can wear and tear on you like you see on any team. To play Ohio State, Duke, Louisville, and then go into USC. I'm more looking forward to that USC game, obviously, but they need to stay focused for this Louisville team because it's nothing to just put behind you like Tennessee State or Navy where they blow them out by 50. They're still going to have to show up and play coming Saturday, but I think they're more interested in getting that W against USC, which will progress their rankings and possibly give
Yeah.
them a chance for the end of the season. But yeah, Notre Dame I think is legit. Their defense is legit, and Sam Hartman is legit.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it'll be a fun game to watch for sure. Definitely leading into that USC week. Let's go ahead and pivot into a little NFL recap here. Week 4, a couple of games to kind of touch on. And I'm going to go ahead and come out hot and heavy here with the Chiefs versus the Jets, 23-20. Chiefs take the W. Don't want to give Package too much credit because we all know it goes straight to his head. But he kind of hit the nail on the head last week in his bye segment there, buying Zach Wilson to have a great game. Zach Wilson comes out 28 of 39, 245 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He looked like a completely different player, getting the ball out of his hand quick, kind of knew where he wanted to go with the ball pre-snap with his reads. Had some absolute phenomenal sack prevention where it looked like he was dead in the backfield and was able to get away and either throw the ball away or get back to line of scrimmage and grab a couple yards. It was definitely impressive. Best game we've seen him play by far all year. We've seen flashes of it in the past, but it was definitely something to see and hopefully get the talk of Zach Wilson being quote unquote trash out of everybody's mouth, and he can just continue to grow from here. They had 108 yards rushing. Brees Hall led the way at 56 yards. And again, no surprise, Jets defense looked great with 2 interceptions and a safety that kind of was it a safety, was it a not? Who knows? But they got the points, and it was definitely a trend change there for the Jets. And then kind of moving into Patrick Mahomes' game here, he kind of had an off night. KOB 18 of 30 for only 203 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. And it wasn't just two; they were bad interceptions, is what they were. The bright spot for the Kansas City offense was 204 yards rushing, led by Pacheco with 115 yards on 20 carries. What was your take on that game, KOB? Is this just a down night for the Chiefs, or are the Jets starting to trend upward a little bit?
Yeah, you say 115 yards for Pacheco. It helps when you break a 50-yarder out of the gate to score a touchdown.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely a down night for the Chiefs. I mean, you spoke on it. Patrick Mahomes' 2 interceptions were to nobody. I mean, they were to the Jets defense. 17-0 in the first quarter. That was the game where I was like, well, because I played the Jets, right? I mean, it was ugly.
We had the Jets all day. Yeah.
Why would you play the Jets? Well, there's some events that occurred, and you're like, all right, here it comes. But I do have to give Zach Wilson some credit. He came out in that second half, the very first drive, and towards the end of the first half, but he looked different. There is a positivity for his future and for the New York Jets that you're like, well, hold on here. Who is this? And I remember sitting there, I was over with some buddies watching this game, and I was like, this is not the Zach Wilson we're used to seeing. I said, I don't even know who this guy is. His throws were so precise. He knew where he was going with the ball, and he was just lacing these throws in the perfect spot, back shoulders against the cornerbacks. I mean, he knew exactly what he was doing and was getting it out quick. And so is there a glimpse of positivity for the New York Jets? Yeah. I mean, maybe if Zach Wilson can keep playing like that, but do I think they had a chance in this ball game? No. The scoreboard reflects a closer game than it actually was. Mahomes slides on the 1 yard line with 2 minutes left. Thank you, Mahomes, for the
smart
cover.
Play. Smart play.
Yeah, very smart. And so I think this game could have gotten out of hand very quick, but the 2 interceptions and some events helped. But I think there's positives on both sides. Okay. I do. I think the Jets have some positives to look at, and the Chiefs do as well.
Yeah, and being a personal, Jets homer for sure. Just the safety was the turning point for sure. Once that safety came around, kind of lit a fire. Zach came out looking like a different player. Again, there's some controversial calls there on the defensive holding on Sauce coming down. It was a little ticky tack. Brings up a lot of questions about NFL and wanting the Chiefs. They always get the benefit of the doubt, right? But at the it just was, and it's just one of those things. You hate to talk about it, but it was there. And to me, Zach had the fumble at the end of the game. It was a low snap. He was backing away. Should he have had it? Yes. But to me, the big thing was we've heard all the talk in the locker room about how no one trusts him and everything. At the end of the game, you had every player on the Jets sideline come in, pat him on the back, pick him up, and take him on into the locker room. And to me, that was promising to see. And I can't help but think that some of that has to do with Aaron Rodgers being back in the building on the field and being the leader and telling those guys, hey, stop it. We're a team. Pick up and move on. But to touch on the Patrick Mahomes sliding and not running it in, that was a 100% smart football play by Patrick Mahomes, just letting that clock run. Jets had no timeouts. He shouldn't have went to the end zone. It was great. Jets covered 3.5. It was a phenomenal game to be had by all. And I know you had you played first half over too, didn't you, with me on that game?
I played Jets team totes everywhere. Which is winner, and the cover winner.
Yeah. Definitely a fun game to watch. And to be honest, I wasn't looking forward to this game coming in. I was like, oh, here we go. Another Sunday night blowout. It's going to ruin the Sunday feel that we had. But boy, were we wrong and turned into a great game. Let's move into, to me, the biggest game of the morning games there, which was Dolphins playing the Bills. Bills beat the Dolphins pretty handedly, 48-20. Josh Allen continues to have a great run, going 21 of 25 for 320 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He's looked great ever since the week 1 loss to the Jets, taking care of the football and looking like the Josh Allen we've known and seen all through last year. Tua had a pretty good game, 25 of 35, 282, a touchdown and interception. Dolphins had 142 yards rushing. To me, the big takeaway on this game was two things. One, there weren't any really big plays by the Miami offense. Hill was held to 3 receptions for 58 yards, and there was one long run of 55 yards by A-Chain. Other than that, the next longest play was 23 yards. That's not the Dolphins offense we've been used to seeing leading up to this week. And it just, to me, that was the game changer for the Dolphins offense. And the glaring hole is the Dolphins defense is terrible. And they gotta, if they don't score 30 points, it's going to be a tough route. It looks like, just off the history of where their defense is going. What were your takes on that game? I know we played the Bills last week for this, but what were your thoughts? Are we worried about the Dolphins, and are the Bills a top contender?
Yes, the Bills are a top contender. I know we had this discussion week 1 after they lost to the Jets, and we're all sitting back like, oh my, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, this could not be good for them in the rest of the season. But no, I mean, they picked up week 2 and have carried till now, and they look dominant. Their defense is predominant. You see it. They held a Dolphins offense to only 20 points and no large plays, which I think is a success to beating the Miami Dolphins. And yes, Tyreek Hill, only 3 receptions, only 5 targets for 58 yards.
Yeah.
I have him in fantasy, so I was very disappointed to see. But you think the Bills Dolphins is always a huge scoring outcome game, and it was mainly on the Bills side. They hit the over, but the Dolphins only score 20. That's a little bit scary, but we do think the Bills defense is good. So I'm still a believer in both teams. I think the Miami Dolphins are still very solid. They've added this Devon A-Chain guy, which, my goodness, he better not take Tyreek's spot with touchdowns, because I'll be disappointed. But you look at the Dolphins' schedule, I still think they're a 10-win team for sure.
Yeah. I think both these teams get in the playoffs, and they both have a chance to make a big run to the AFC Championship game, and definitely make a potential run at the Super Bowl for sure. I think this just brought the public and everybody, brought the Dolphins back down to reality, right? They looked like an unstoppable offensive force there for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And Bills come back and show us that don't forget about them. They still have a great defense and a ton of offensive weapons. And if Josh Allen plays like he can, they're definitely a hard out week in and week out to get. But definitely both two teams to keep an eye on, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of them here soon with some big wins going on here. Next game I want to talk about, which was the Titans versus the Bengals, which this wasn't even a close game. Titans went outright. Another game that we both liked a lot. Titans win 27-3. And the first thing I want to ask you, KOB, is Joe Burrow goes 20 of 30 for 165 yards and 0 touchdowns. Cincinnati only had 72 yards rushing. I know Vrabel and Tennessee, they tend to have a good defense, but not that great. And Burrow only has 2 touchdowns through 4 weeks. What's wrong with Joe Burrow in the Cincinnati offense? And is it time for the alarm bells going crazy? And are we worried about Joey B here?
Boy, oh boy. Yeah, great display by the Titans, but the sole focus is strictly on the Cincinnati Bengals here after 4 weeks. You have to be worried some. You just pay this quarterback, highest paid quarterback in the league. I mean, and his performance isn't even close to representing what he got paid. And so now you're sitting back 1-3. Hopefully you can beat the Cardinals next week.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can beat Seattle. But then you still got to play San Francisco. You got to play Buffalo. I don't think they make the playoffs. And I'll be honest, unless Burrow changes his moxie, because he just looks like he doesn't give a shit watching him play. He looks like he doesn't care. And Mixon needs to get more involved. They need to run the ball more. But it's hard when you go 3 and out. And so I get it. But their offenses looked horrendous. You better hope against Arizona coming up, or if not, then Seattle, that they flip something around, because they need to do it quick.
Yeah, I think that's the big question, right? Is how injured or how hurt is Joe Burrow? It doesn't look good. I think one of the hidden talents that Joe Burrow has that no one really talks about, right, is he is elusive in the pocket and able to get away and make some big throws on the run and get himself out of trouble. And it doesn't look like he has that right now, which is something's wrong. I think he's hurt. I think it's more than what people are leading on. And to me, the big thing is you always hear, well, Burrow at 90%, 85%, whatever it is better than all these other quarterbacks. Well, it's not right now. 4 weeks in, you have 1 win, you have 3 losses. You're going to play Arizona, who isn't supposed to be a good team, but they're putting out fights every week in and week out, right?
Yeah.
They look better than what we thought. And at what point is it worth it just to say, let's sit Burrow for whether it's a week, 2 weeks, get 100% healthy, let's move on. Their backup is, the reigning XFL MVP, A.J. McCarron, coming back, who has been with Cincinnati before. Is it worth just to sit him out? I know he's making all this money, but you got to do something. Yeah, their rushing attack's terrible, but again, like you said, you go 3 and out, and you're coming out of the hole. You're down 14 points. You can't run it a whole bunch when the clock's running out. So it's something to keep an eye out for. I'm worried for any Cincinnati fans. I'm worried for Joe Burrow. I hope that whatever injury he has doesn't linger, doesn't become worse, or he's so worried about the soft tissue injury that he does have that he ends up blowing out a knee in the other leg, whatever it is, just by compensation of the injury going in. So hopefully they get it figured out. Hopefully he can get some rest and turn into the Joe Burrow that we all know and love, with that moxie that he's had ever since he came out of college. Last game I want to touch on, KOB, here is the Texans versus Steelers. This was a game I think a lot of people thought the Steelers were going to come into Houston and blow them out after their big win against the Raiders last week. But boy, were they wrong. This is one of my favorite plays of the week, was playing the Houston Texans. They come out and absolutely dominate the game, winning 36-6. C.J. Stroud came out, looks like a bona fide starter here in the NFL. Great game, 16 of 30 for 306, 2 touchdowns, and still 0 interceptions through the first 4 weeks here. He looks like the real deal, looks like a generational talent for the Houston Texans. Finally had a good running attack. He had 139 yards on the ground, led by Dameon Pierce with 81 yards. They got the backs involved in the screen game early, which to me was huge to kind of slow that pass rush down from T.J. Watt and the rest of the line there. The defense came out, looked great. 3 sacks on defense, made Kenny Pickett struggle that game before he got hurt. It was 15 of 23, interception, only 114 yards. But to me, the big takeaway from this game was how great CJ looked. And yes, he looked great, but there's 6 offensive linemen hurt coming into this game. There's only 5 of them that start. They're down to guys playing position, backup guys playing positions they're not supposed to be playing. And the fact that they're able to make this work, and CJ looks as good as he does. Your boy Nico Collins looks like a true number 1 starter in the NFL. It's crazy to think about. 4 weeks ago, I'm complaining about the offensive weapons. Nico looks real. Tank Dell's a serious weapon that can be used. And Robert Woods is turning into the third down, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 security blanket for CJ. What was your take on the game? Are we high on the Texans moving forward? And do we think they can win the AFC South now? Locked up 2-2.
Yeah, I mean, another fantastic performance from C.J. Stroud. to throw over 300 yards with no interceptions again. And I think the big star is 0 sacks. I mean, he's escaping, he's getting the ball out. And so for a rookie to do that is very impressive, especially with our front line. And so Kenny Pickett, I love him, but our defense looks solid, holding them to 200 yards of offense.
Yeah.
That's easy to win ball games if you can do that. And so I'm very high on the Houston Texans as of right now. I mean, we came in this season and said, all right, finally we have maybe our franchise quarterback. Maybe we have a good chance. But then everyone's like, we don't have any all-star wide receivers. We don't have X, we don't have Y. Guess what? CJ Stroud is making some of our wide receivers all-stars, make them look like all-stars. Nico Collins, 7 for 168, 2 touchdowns. And Tank Dell, they go back and forth game and game. You got Robert Woods. And so I think they have a very good roster to compete. And I think they're, I wish I fired everything on the Texans future-wise, because just looking at their team now, I'm not scared to say, oh, yeah, I'm a Houston Texans fan like I was in the past. Can they win the AFC South? Absolutely. Look out for AR-15, AR-5.
Yeah.
Do I think they have a chance if he can stay healthy? Maybe. Does Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars look as solid as everyone thought they were? No, they don't. And the Tennessee Titans, 2-2. To have 2-2, all 4 teams, it's anybody's win to take. And so would I think we'd be in this position sitting through 4 weeks? No. And so I love it. I do think the Texans look like they have a chance to win the AFC South for sure, because no one really sticks out quite yet in that division.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think the big thing here with CJ Wright is I was a big oh, man, he looks terrible coming through the preseason. And he did, let's be fair.
Yeah.
He did not look good. But the big promising part is week in and week out, he's getting better, understanding the offense, getting command of the offense, and throwing in more wrinkles every week and just helping him out to make him better. It's definitely promising. Like you said, all 4 teams are knotted up at 2-2. Everybody's had their dominant games throughout this year so far. But who would have thought coming into this that your 2 rookie quarterbacks are potentially the best 2 quarterbacks in this division? Trevor Lawrence, shaky start. He's not coming out as hot as I thought he would, but I think they'll get there. They'll get their groove. But definitely a division that was thought to be potentially one of the worst in the NFL, coming out and looking strong through the first 4 weeks for sure. Before we jump into some week 5 matchups and stuff, I wanted to talk about the Bears and Panthers here still real quick. They're still winless. And if we all go into last year's draft, we talk about the Panthers trading up with the Bears to go get Bryce Young as their future quarterback. And as of right now, if the draft was tomorrow, the Bears are going to have the first and second pick. It's something to keep an eye out to see on what they do. Both teams are 0-4. Bears don't look like they're going to win more than 2 or 3 games tops this year. Panthers probably around the same. Panthers at least have somewhat of a defense that they can rely on here. But something to watch, if the Bears can get 2 picks in the top 3, 4, 5, it'll be interesting to see what they do. They're definitely in that Caleb Williams hunt. And if they can go get, Marvin Harrison Jr. too there, they could have a quick, pretty good 1-2 punch there going in. So it's just something to look at, see what happens,
Yeah, this is far stretched. But if I were the Bears right now, actually more or less, if I was the Cardinals, Arizona Cardinals, I think they have sorry, let me rephrase that. If I was the Falcons, horrible team, I'm looking at the Bears and I'm saying, okay, we want Justin Fields, because I do think Justin Fields is a mediocre quarterback. I think he's good.
No.
I don't think the Falcons have a very good quarterback at all, Desmond Ridder.
Right.
But yeah, Bijan Robinson. Let's trade. We'll take Justin Fields, put him in Atlanta, and then you just play whoever you want as the Bears. Tank, which is fine, but load up on draft picks, and then let's get Caleb Williams number 1.
Yeah.
Why would you not try and I don't know. To be in their spot where they're at, I think they need to go for Caleb Williams because I don't think Justin Fields is the answer. But then what do you do with Justin Fields? And my take is send him to Atlanta. Then Atlanta's going to be a better team because I'm a big fan of Bijan and I want to see him
Yeah.
succeed and that whole team with Arthur Smith. And so I don't know. That was just a little pitch on mine. I was thinking earlier today when we were talking about the Bears being horrible.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I agree. I'm not completely out on Justin Fields as a future NFL quarterback. I'm out on him as a Bears quarterback. I don't think that organization knows what they're doing. There's two organizations right now you don't want to be a quarterback to get drafted to. It's the Chicago Bears and the Cleveland Browns, right?
Yeah.
Just their history as a quarterback's been abysmal, and we'll see how that goes. I think Justin Fields might just need a reset, maybe new team, new OC that can use his talents a little bit. But yeah, we'll see how it goes, and something to keep an eye out on. But the Bears potentially could have two early picks in next year's draft.
Yeah.
Before we go into Week 5 matchups, KOB here, I just wanted to kind of put together our own friendly wager top 5 power rankings here for the NFL. To me, it's easy to kind of start from number 1 and work our way down because I think 3, 4, 5 spot can kind of go a whole bunch of different ways. So I'll just kind of lead it off here. In my number 1 spot, best team in the NFL, I'm going to go ahead and just start with the San Francisco 49ers, purely based off of right now. They're 4-0. They've looked pretty dominant throughout the year. I think they have tons of offensive weapons that we've seen with Christian McCaffrey. You have Debo, you got Ayuk. Defense is great. Brock Purdy's been stellar this year, and I think it's time to say that he is a legit quarterback moving forward. And what do you think of the Niners in the 1 spot, or do you have another team in your 1 spot?
No, I totally agree. You said it all. I got Niners number 1.
Yeah. So number 2 is where you can start having a little bit of discussion here, just based off of pure talent and pure talent alone. I'm going the Philadelphia Eagles here, and it's basically just off of the talent on the roster. They're 4-0. Granted, they've had some really close, hard-fought wins, but at the end of the day, a win is a win in the NFL. It's not like college football to where you're just expecting blowouts week in and week out. A win is a win. They're my number 2 team. What do you think about Philadelphia Eagles? Are they your 2 team, or who do you have in that spot?
I think Philadelphia Eagles are good. Their record speaks for itself, right? They've been good. They were good last year. But my number 2 team, I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay. I can definitely see that for sure. It's one of those goofy deals. I mean, Philly hasn't looked great. Kansas City,
they haven't looked so here. They haven't looked good either.
Spot.
No,
for sure.
But I think if the Chiefs play the Eagles next week, I think the Chiefs would beat them. One, I like the Chiefs roster better. Yes, they have some receiving issues, but they'll get that sorted out. And 2, I just love the game plans they put together. And so I think the game plan that they would create would give them an advantage over Philadelphia.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the big worry about Philly, right? They're supposed to have a dominant defense, and they do up front.
They've allowed 90 points.
Yeah. Their front seven's as good as anything in the league. It's their secondaries are a weak point, and we'll kind of see what happens there. But Philly's got a tough run here in a little bit. Playing the vaunted New York Jets, you got to worry about, but they do go Dolphins, Commanders, who they just barely squeaked out by, Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Cowboys, and then Seahawks. So they have a tough stretch coming ahead. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how they come out here in the future. But my number 3 pick, this is where it starts for me to get a little shaky here, where you can kind of go either way. But I'm going to go ahead and go Buffalo Bills in the number 3 spot here, purely based off of what we've seen from Josh Allen. They have a great defense, and I just think they're clicking at a high rate right now. Who do you have?
Yeah, no, Buffalo Bills are my number 3 as well. Their defense looks solid. You could say after the first week, they might not be Buffalo like we discussed earlier, but they are. Josh Allen's came out and they've been himself. The offense looks fantastic. They have 139 points scored, and their defense has only allowed 55. I mean, that's stellar margins. Buffalo looks solid, and so yeah, they're my number 3.
Yeah, no. And then going into my number 4, I'm going Kansas City Chiefs. Again, you have arguably the best quarterback in the league. You have the best tight end, lots of weapons. You have, to me, the proven coaching ability of Andy Reid and the creativity he has on the offensive side of the ball. And I think the big thing why I have Kansas City over like another team, you'd say like Dolphins or someone, is Kansas City's got a pretty good defense of going through, only allowing, I think, 60 points for the year so far through 4 weeks. So Kansas City is my number 4 team.
And finally, I'm pulling out Philadelphia. Philadelphia is my number 4 team. They have the offense. There's no question about that. But the biggest star and question mark is their defense. They've allowed way too many points through 4 weeks against teams that aren't that good. And so I think they're a stellar roster, just number 4 on my list.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then to me, this is the hardest part, is this number 5 spot. There's plenty of teams you can kind of pick from. The obvious ones would be Dolphins, Ravens would be another one you could go with, Cowboys, and then realistically, probably the Lions are probably the 4 teams here that you can look at this number 5 spot. And I'm really torn and not sold. I would like to say it would be Miami, but their defense is a huge question mark for me. So as of right now, I'm going to go ahead and just go with the Baltimore Ravens. I think you got Lamar, who's had a pretty good game last week. Is he going to be able to get the ball going? Who knows? But they have a good defense. They only allowed 58 points this year. I'm going to go ahead and lean Baltimore. I'm not in love with that pick. I could be convinced to go other places, but right now Ravens are my number 5 spot.
My number 5, Lone Star, Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Now, I know they just lost last week. It was very disappointing. But to come back and beat Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots 38-3, not only just beat them, but they forced Mac Jones to be pulled and bring in Bailey Zappi. That's the type of defense I want when it comes down to huge games and big-time games. Their defense hasn't let back. Dak Prescott looked good, 28 for 34, 261, 1 touchdown. He hasn't thrown too many touchdowns, but he's moving the ball and getting the ball to the right people for scoring opportunities. The big question mark is when they get in the red zone, what's their game plan? Still haven't seen that quite yet. And so that's a question mark they're going to have to answer for me, because they will get in the red zone a lot, especially with the defense the way they're playing. And so I love the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to move up throughout the season for me. But yeah, number 5 for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I could definitely see that. The Dallas Cowboys would be my honorable mention right there for it. And then my dark horse pick is the Detroit Lions. Don't be shocked here in about 3 or 4 weeks if we're talking about Detroit sneaking into the top 5 here for sure. All right, let's see here, man. Let's go ahead and move on to our Week 5 matchups here to kind of wrap up the show. Let's talk Thursday night football. We have what a great matchup with the Chicago Bears and the Washington Commanders. The big thing I'm looking for here too is Sam Howell finally getting a little primetime game for everybody to see the talent and the arm that this kid has. But I believe that line, let me see what it is right now. I just updated it.
6.
Commanders are laying 6. Yeah, line opened up at -1.5. It's at 6 right now. What are you thinking on this game? Are you leaning one way or the other? What are your thoughts here?
I mean, just like any Thursday night primetime game, it seems like you don't even want to turn it on TV. But I'm going to, and in respect to package, Justin Fields showed a lot, and the Chicago Bears, they had a glimpse of some stellar plays and scoring opportunities last week. Now their defense fold like a lawn chair and let Russell Wilson come back. Yes, but they put up the points, and they did look promising. They looked like a football team. They scored 28 quick. They haven't scored over like 20 all game, first 3 games of the season. And Washington's defense is probably one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And so for me, if you're going to give Justin Fields and the Bears 6 points, I'm going to play the Bears and wrap their team totes everywhere I can because I think the Bears will put up 20 to 28 points.
Yeah, I think the big thing here is if you look at the line, right, the movement going from 1.5 to 6 is something to kind of look at. I probably wouldn't put a play in until right before kickoff tomorrow.
Yeah.
The thing that worries me the most with the Bears is they just set the record here for most consecutive games of allowing 25 or more points in a row for the defensive side. So that's alarming. Can the Bears offense actually put up over 25 points a game? We'll see how it goes there. The other thing that worries me, Justin Fields did look great for a long time this past weekend, but his fourth quarter, if you watched how that defense of the Broncos went, they went from playing man to switching it up to zone, and all of a sudden the Bears couldn't move the ball. He threw a costly interception, had a fumble, let the Broncos back in. This is a game I'm probably going to stay away from until, like I said, last minute. See if I can get the Commanders maybe around like that 3.5, 4 mark. I might lean that way. Right now, there's a lot of sharp money coming in at +6. It looks like 39% of the bets are on the Bears, but they're catching about 58% of the money. So you have some big bets and
Yeah, that was my
some sharp
huge
money coming in
wager,
right now.
Gator. Yeah, that was my huge
Yeah,
wager
yeah.
that flipped
There
that.
you go.
So I'll
Yeah.
be honest. Yes, kind of makes me want to lean playing the over. Now we know that's not good on prime time, but we're talking about two horrible defenses, and we're talking about two offenses that kind of have the opportunity to score and can score. You're not going to say Justin Fields can't score. Like, he can. He has the ability to. Sam Howell has
Yeah.
proven he has the ability to put up 35 against Denver, 20 against Arizona, 31 against Philly. Almost beat the Eagles outright last week. And
Should
so,
have, yeah.
yeah. And so these offenses are solid. The over under might be a good wager as well, playing the over.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's the thing, right? Like, we could elaborate on it. We should have, but the Commanders should have won that game. And I at least think, you go down, score the late touchdown. If I'm Ron Rivera, why kick the extra point there? Go for 2.
It's not going to ruin your season. Sorry.
Yeah, it's well, not even that. You're the worst team. What's the chances of you getting the ball back and driving the field again? You're guaranteed right there on the 2-yard line. Go punch it in and try to win the game.
But they're
I
not
don't know if you're gonna get a better opportunity to be there again. Going into the overtime.
Well, yeah,
For
correct.
sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. They're not the better team, but they're not going to make the playoffs anyways. So try and beat Philadelphia, who Philadelphia undefeated. Pretty cool, but he did not.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like you said, the Washington defense has given up a lot of points. Same with the Bears. Only thing I will say is Washington does have a decent pass rush. So if they contain Justin Fields, they could potentially make it difficult for him. But we'll see what happens before kickoff and put out some plays there. But at 6, I'll probably stay away. Probably play a little over underline, or if I can catch Commanders somewhere around that 3.5 to 4.5. That could definitely get me there. But over under right now is 42.5. So it's not crazy high, but it's not quite as low as it potentially could have been too.
Yeah, if anything pops, look on our social medias, the Friendly Wager Pod on X and Instagram, because we will give you that winner if we decide to play something tomorrow night.
Absolutely, no, for sure, we sure will. Next game I want to touch on again. We're our hometown boys, the Houston Texans, are going to go play at the Atlanta Falcons here. The Falcons opened up at 3.5-point favorites, and they're down to 1.5. When I saw this line, I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked, especially after the dominant win the Texans had. I was shocked that they were going to be dogs here in this game. But I know they're on the road, but it's definitely something to look at. What are you kind of leaning towards on the Texans Falcons game? Anything that jumps out at you that you're wanting to play?
Nothing really quite yet, and it might be a stay away game for me in general. It's hard not to take Texans +2 just based off the last 2 weeks' performance by C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans in its entirety. But I still think Atlanta, that they're not a bad team.
I I think they're a quarterback away from being a pretty
Oh, a
good team, though.
very good team, which I
Yeah.
agree. I'm not sold on the Houston Texans run defense quite yet, and so that's what
Yeah,
scares me with
that's what
Bijan
worries me.
Robinson with Bijan back there. And so I'd have to see some line movements a little bit more come Sunday and see kind of where it goes. But right now at 2-1, I'm not playing anything quite yet.
Yeah, no, I just kind of jumped back looking at the history here on this model here, and I wish I would have saw this line at when it was the over unders at 45. I would have hammered the under. It's moved down to 41.5, and I still like it. I think this is going to be a game where the Falcons are going to be very, very run heavy um, against the Texans defense, and yeah, I just don't think it could be a crazy, crazy game here points wise. I can see it being a 21-14 type game, and that under hit pretty comfortably. But yeah, definitely something to look at. And I think the last game we can kind of touch on, and this is unless I'm mistaken, this is the biggest game of the week, which is the Dallas Cowboys playing the San Francisco 49ers. What are your thoughts here on this game before we talk about the lines?
Well, the Dallas Cowboys have been a home job since the beginning of the season. I look forward to this game against Philadelphia again. And so these are the types of games where you kind of understand what the team is made of. And for the Dallas Cowboys, after losing the Arizona Cardinals and then kicking the crap out of New England, you get them against San Francisco. You get a stellar defense. You get an
Mm-hmm.
offense that rarely makes mistakes. And so you have to play to that. Dallas Cowboys, great defense. Offense makes a little bit of mistakes. And so you have to clean that up. I think they have a chance to beat San Francisco. I truly do.
Yeah.
I think their rosters match up pretty equally. But it's going to come down to a mistake-free ball game and whose defense controls it better.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, for me, this is kind of two of the big teams in the NFC, right? You have Dallas, San Francisco, Philly, and probably Detroit, right? Are your big four over there in the NFC? Which, other than that, is pretty lackluster. And I think this is a game that can kind of set the tone for the NFC, and this could potentially be an NFC Championship preview too, for sure. Just looking at the lines right now, it opened up at 3. Right now, 49ers at -3.5, so it's kind of stayed stable. Over-unders at 45. Does that make you want to jump on one of these two teams right now, or do you want to wait till kickoff?
It's being a primetime game, it's hard to play an over, um, especially with these two defenses, and that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of why I like over 45. That line is way too high, in my opinion, for this set of game, San Francisco versus Dallas prime time. Um, I'm not touching anything quite yet. Do I like Dallas plus 3.5? I like the hook on that. But
Yeah.
I'll probably wait a couple of days just to see where it goes. I wouldn't be surprised if it drops back to 3 and it stays around that 3 mark, and I'll be slapping myself saying I missed the hook. But I'm still going to buy it if I play Dallas. So that's really inconsequential. Nothing that I love quite yet on this game. It's too early in the week for me.
Yeah.
I would hammer the under right now just looking at it, which makes me want to play the over, but I'm not going to touch it quite yet.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you. The 3.5, you'd have to kind of lean Dallas's way just because you get that hook. I think this is going to be a pretty close game. It's going to be a field goal touchdown type game, is what I'm kind of foreseeing here. I think it's going to be kind of which defense shows up and which offense can actually kind of move the ball and get some sustained drives and have the time of possession on their side. Right now, I'm not going to lie. I absolutely love the over on this game at 45, which is telling you something because I am a big under guy. And I'll tell you flat out why. This line opened up at 45. It is still at 45, and it's 82% of the money right now is on the under. I think this is one of those games where I think the pub's actually going to be on the under, which is shocking. And I think if this line stays at 45, it's just telling you to play the over. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning on this game for sure right now. If I was to go put something in on it.
Yeah, Yeah, like I said, I like the over. That number's too high, and now that you said it hasn't moved with all the money on the under,
Yeah.
is telling us one thing.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just like anything, right? You kind of keep an eye on it, on the trends, and see what these computer models spit out. But right now, that's kind of something that's jotted down in the notebook to keep an eye on and potentially play here moving forward. I think the only other game we can kind of gloss over is just because of the history of this game. It's always been pretty good, which is the Ravens Steelers. Steelers are catching 4, which to me, again, based off last week's performance, I know they're at home, but 4 against Baltimore, that line looked a little off. I thought that would be closer to 6.5 or 7. So that's definitely a game I'm looking at. Potentially for next week. But other than that, that was kind of the only big games I was looking at. Was there anything else that jumped off the paper for you that you were wanting to watch?
No, I mean Pittsburgh's great decision. +4, like I agree with you, needs to be about a touchdown, especially after their performance last week. And if Kenny Pickett does or does not play, does that affect the line? And so +4 is very low. Makes you want to play Pittsburgh +4 because everyone's going to be on Baltimore. Why would you not? But Pittsburgh +4 is solid game to look out for. And I think just for the Houston Texans emotional fan base, Tennessee and Indianapolis, you get a division
Yeah, for
game.
sure.
In a division game, let's see what those teams do against each other, and so I'll watch that one, of course, just to scout the teams a little bit, give the front office of the Texans a little info on what they need. But yeah, I mean that'll be a fun game too.
Yeah, no, that's another great one I saw here. Yeah, definitely something to watch and see how it goes. No, so it'll be good. Lots of good football here to look up for. Again, like we say, you're crazy not to be following our picks. We're on a little bit of a heat check right now. Ride this train as long as we can go while it's hot, and get these plays. I mean, they're for free. You're crazy not to at least take a look at them and see the run that we've been on here through the first 4 weeks of NFL and 5 weeks of college football. Just keep an eye out Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings on Instagram and X. We post all 3 of our favorite plays for the week, and we don't talk about them until we post them, and then we have a discussion afterwards. So definitely keep a look at. We're on a good run for sure. Going through. You got anything else to add, Keep, before we go into buy or sell?
No, follow them. You're missing out on free money, just like Package. Say you're taking your girlfriend out for a nice steak dinner, which is what I did. And so, yeah, follow our plays, take a look at them, either one way or another. Just get a glimpse of what we like, and you don't have to like it, but I'd say play them.
Yeah, no, just a little extra research, just keep a look. All right, before we close out this show, we went a little longer than I thought we would today, being just the 2 of us. But close out with our buy or sell here. Do you want to go first, K or B? Do you want me to hit this up?
Yeah, go ahead, hit it up.
All right, well, here we go. We've been thinking about this all week since Sunday night. I am selling the hell out of Taylor Swift and being at NFL football games.
That was gonna be mine.
It's absolutely ridiculous, the fact that every other drive we have to see a picture of her in the booth, in the suites, giving hugs out to all of her friends while we're there when they score touchdowns. I don't know if she's really watching the game, seeing what's going on. The broadcast shows her, then we go to a commercial, and guess what the first commercial is? It's a Taylor Swift commercial. I'm over it. I can't stand it. And as a gambler and a fan of the NFL, whenever they start posting that the Kansas City Chiefs are 2-0 since the Swiftie started, right? No one gives a shit about it. I'm over it. And let's just get her out of football and move forward. I can't stand it. It drives me nuts. In a text chain I was in with Class and Legs, we were going off about it. I can't stand it. Get her out of the stadiums. Just don't come anymore. Drives me nuts. And then another quick side sell here. Yeah, just a side sell. We're going to stay in the same game. Yeah, I'm going to stay in the same game. Rodney Harrison can be sold too. Coming in at the end of the game, talking to Chris Jones, talking about Zach Wilson being trash. It was a low-class move on my part to do that on live television right after a game on the field, trying to get another player from the other team to talk trash about him. I think Jones did a great job handling that question, saying that they knew Zach was going to play well. He played great. But to me, it was just a classless move, fresh off a game, to put somebody in that situation. So that is my sell for this week. KOB, what are you doing? You buying or selling this week?
Well, I was actually going to buy the whole Taylor Swift scenario and situation,
You would.
but now
You
that you
would.
bought it, I mean, you get to look at her more than you ever get to. Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't suck. And then all her friends that gets to come along too.
Yeah.
No, but yes, I was going to sell Taylor Swift. It ruins the game of football. It ruins the public's eye. Now, does it help probably viewership? 100% it does. Is Travis Kelce getting a spot on the map now from people who are fans of Taylor Swift? Yes. So now his persona's through the roof, right?
Well,
so
his Twitter and Instagram, he
yeah.
gained 1 million followers. It's crazy.
Wouldn't doubt it. And so good for them. Wish them nothing but the best. But she can stay at home and watch the game on TV. Yes. Other than that, I'm going to sell. Okay. Package. Right. Lucky he's not here, but I'm selling packages. Internet. All right. After watching the past freaking podcast, that dude needs to buy new internet. You see him on the road.
Yes, he does.
You see him on the road all the time. He's winning all these bets the past weekend. He can afford the internet. We know he can. We don't have to know his financials. So buy better internet package. All right.
Yeah. He needs to buy. Yeah, he needs to buy better internet. He lives. Hey, nice house, nice neighborhood. I live out here in the sticks, and I got first class internet compared to where he's at right now.
Yeah,
it's like he's on dial up. But yes, and if he doesn't get it fixed here in the next week or two, we might need to do a little GoFundMe or something for him.
GoFundMe, or I'm gonna start budgeting his money and tell him where to spend it.
Yes, absolutely, no, for sure. All right, well, this is another episode of The Friendly Wager. Keep an eye out for our post on Instagram and X for guaranteed winners. Ride the train here. Get ready for it. Enjoy the ride while the pod's hot here. You got anything to say before we close it out?
No, we've all gambled before, and we know where this goes. When you're on an incline, it stays on an incline, but there's going to be a decline here sooner than later. So ride us while we're hot, because we are hot.
Yep, ride us while we're hot. Or hey, maybe we figured it out, Keith. Maybe we just got the inside on it.
We do.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, this is another episode of The Friendly Wager, the place where betting leads to bonding. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you here next Wednesday. And other than that, see ya.
See ya.